Welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. My name is Greg Rand. I'm your host on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. We're here talking about building wealth in real estate. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left, and we'll do the first half of our conversation with Joe Mendez from Long Beach, California. Hey, Joe, you on the air?
Yeah, I am. Hi, Greg.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for waiting and holding on with us here. So you've heard a little bit of what we're doing here, and just to introduce Joe, Joe is a real estate professional in Long Beach, California that is part of the OwnAmerica network. One of the things that OwnAmerica does is we are gathering together a national network of like-minded real estate professionals who want to bring this message out to their client base and help people create wealth on the other side of this economic crisis. And Joe has done a beautiful job out there in Long Beach, and basically he's seeing some things, and we're going to sort of talk about Long Beach in the same way we just talked about Hawaii. What's going on the ground there that makes it a great investment market? So, Joe, tell us a little bit about, you have a lot of activity right now with investors. What is in their heads right now?
Well, I think a lot of investors right now are definitely looking for value, of course, and they're trying to find a place to drop their money. And what I find in Long Beach is that there's definitely an abundance of investors with cash who are looking to put money into real estate because either they're going to flip property, which is certainly not what I would do, but they may also want to just put money somewhere so that it'll increase in value over, like in the period of 10 years, for example.
So now Long Beach is situated right in between Los Angeles and Orange County. So is it actually in L.A. County?
It is in L.A. County. Actually, Long Beach is, I like to say it's a large city within a large city because it's actually centrally located to all of Southern California. But at the same time, it's also within the L.A. County. It's one of the most affordable areas within the L.A. County system.
Well, that's what I'm seeing here also. I went over to Zillow again, and I punched up the numbers here. And what I see here on Long Beach is that the entire city of Long Beach started out the 10-year cycle at a median price of about $200,000, peaked at a median price of about $450,000, and then came down to today something around $340,000. And so if you basically take this thing in one 10-year chunk, what you're talking about is about a 66% appreciation over 10 years, which is not so bad, especially given the fact that everyone's talking about California as being in meltdown zone, right? You hear about it in the news that California is one of the big foreclosure states, and I'm sure that's true, we'll talk about that in a minute, but yet it's still holding the value. But downtown, tell me about downtown Long Beach, because downtown Long Beach has seen a bigger spike and a bigger decline in prices. What's happening there?
Well, I think, in Long Beach, I think you have mixed properties. You've got a whole lot of development that has taken place in Long Beach on the ocean side, and then you've also got neighborhoods that a little further up, which are mixed, and you've had some growths there, and you've got some good buys down there.
So did you guys have an overdevelopment problem, like you ended up with a bunch of unsold units?
They built a lot of high-rises in downtown Long Beach.
Okay.
And a few years ago, they were selling up in the 800, 900 range, and now they're going for $225,000, $250,000.
Wow.
The unfortunate part is that those condominiums, which are very nice, and again, this oceanfront property, they come with a very high HOA, like $800 or $900.
So monthly homeowners association fees,
exactly.
That'll kill you, right?
Right.
Well, that's interesting. So I'm looking at this chart, and you just explained why downtown Long Beach had a median price of $130 10 years ago, peaked at $700, and now it's down to $200. So we've talked a lot on this show about the idea that when you see overdevelopment, what you're basically seeing is artificially high supply, okay? And that artificially high supply winds up creating an imbalance in supply and demand. One of the things about Long Beach that makes it obvious for anybody listening is that it's a beach, right? You guys are on the Pacific Ocean. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
All right, and that's one of the things, the investment properties that you're selling. I know you've got a couple of properties that you've been moving recently that are like under $200,000, even closer to $100,000.
That's correct, yeah.
So give me a profile of a property that you've recently sold or are selling right now.
Well, there's a property in North Long Beach, for example, that's listed at $188,000, and I think looking at it myself, it basically just needs paint, just cosmetic work. And, over the span of 10 years, I think that property will certainly increase in value significantly.
And so the rental market for that's a single-family home?
It's a single-family home, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, about 1,100 square feet possibly, and I think you could probably rent for maybe $1,500.
And that would cover the mortgage if you put down 30%.
Correct.
Yep. Now, that's interesting. So 188, how far from the beach is that?
Well, that's probably, that's North Long Beach, so you're looking probably about 5 miles.
Okay, 5. To you, that's a long way, Joe. To us, that sounds like it's pretty darn close. Now, we're talking about a city, a property that is maybe how many miles away from Costa Mesa, where the average price in Costa Mesa is like $500,000. You're talking about just a few miles away, right?
We're about 35 miles, about 30 miles.
So you're sandwiched in between. To the north, you have L.A. and Beverly Hills and everything else. To the south, you have Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and Costa Mesa. And right in the middle there, and you opened up saying this, is pretty much the most affordable real estate in and around the L.A. area in places where you'd want to be.
That's correct. I mean, I've got a couple of clients that I'm working with now who live in other parts of LA County that are much desirable in terms of, like, say, Mar Vista or Santa Monica, so forth. But they can't afford properties in LA County other than Long Beach. Long Beach is their affordable point because he's somewhere in the 275 range. So Long Beach is an affordable city.
Do people in Long Beach commute to L.A.? Are there jobs right in Long Beach? What's the employment situation there?
One of the things about Long Beach is it used to be a commuter city, because a lot of people would live here. There's a lot of multi-family dwellings here, single-family dwellings, condominiums, et cetera, and they used to work in L.A., Santa Monica, the West Side. They just work all over, but it was a commuter city. But over the years, it's grown. As you mentioned downtown earlier, it's developed because it was bringing more and more development into Long Beach. So it's definitely no longer that commuter city, although it still has that flavor.
That's cool. So it's sort of like becoming, as you said, a city within a city, a big city within a really big city.
Correct.
Now, what do you say about, I mentioned earlier about the politics in this country where, during this recession, the first people in this country that got our acts together and tightened our belt and learned to live on less were us, the people, right? Households stopped spending so much, started living within their means, started saving dramatically. The charts that show savings rates and mortgage pay down rates, no one ever really talks about that. But if you dig in a little bit, what you see is Americans have decided that austerity is the new cool. Okay, and so they're not living outside their budgets anymore, and they're paying down debt, which makes it tougher on the economy because consumer spending fuels the economy. But it's actually a healthy thing. It's like we're getting in shape again financially as households, and you also see it in corporate America. The stock market's doing great, mainly for one reason. Corporate profits are doing really well, mainly for one reason. They fired a bunch of people and cut their expenses. All right, so they learned how to trim down their expenses. I'm not trying to take any of the, say anything that would denigrate the pain of being unemployed, but the point is that companies did it too. They said we have to pare down our costs to match the new reality, and they did that, and they're not going to change right away. They're not going to start hiring again right away because they're enjoying the corporate profits and they're getting the job done with the workforce they have. Government is the last entity that was addicted to debt, just like everybody else was in this conversation, meaning, consumers, households, companies, everyone was addicted to debt, but the households and the companies have gotten off that train. The government seems to be trying to, but we can't quite tell if California's sort of getting on board with that plan. What is your sense as a resident there about that?
Well, that's a big question. All I can say is that there's, at least in my little world here in Long Beach, there's definitely a lot of opportunities for people to purchase real estate as an investment or as a first-time buyer, and that's a good place to put their money. I know for my own self. I think I've mentioned to you before. I purchased a property through a self-directed IRA. And it's actually worked out real well. I found that parking the money in real estate for me, in the long run, over a 10-year period, as you have outlined in your work, works well for me to increase my wealth with that particular piece of property. So
that's great advice. I'm glad you brought that up. The self-directed IRA, that you can actually buy real estate with that. People don't know that. It's the best kept secret in the investing world. Joe, listen, I'm really happy you were able to join us. Thank you for being patient through the breaks and everything. This is Joe Mendez from Coldwell Banker Coastal Alliance out in Long Beach. Joe, how do they find you? What's your website?
It's longbeachrealestaterainbow.com.
Okay, longbeachrealestaterainbow.com. Joe, thanks a million. Appreciate you having you on the show.
Thank you, Greg. Bye.
Okay, this is Rand on Real Estate, 77 WABC. Back in a minute.